Hi there everyone, it's Marc Laurenson here from Sydney Astrology School, and thanks for joining me as we look towards March of 2023. Now the big news of course is Saturn. Saturn is changing sign, it's changing sign from Aquarius and it's going into Pisces. But before I get stuck into what all that means, let's have a look at the dates, okay? So Saturn is moving into Pisces on March the 2nd or March the 3rd, depending where you are in the world. Now, the interesting thing is that when Saturn retrogrades, it doesn't retrograde back into Aquarius, it retrogrades back to 0 degrees Pisces, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now, it stays in Pisces until February 13 or February 14 of 2026, okay? So the interesting thing about this is that when it moves into Aries straight after that, Saturn is coming into conjunction with Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, which is a very important point in astrology. It's called the Aries point or the vernal point. It's the beginning of the beginning. So this is going to be a big deal in 2026, but I will keep all the things I want to say about that until then. There'll be going to be a lot of astrologers talking about what that means as we get closer to that date. Okay, so let's just stay with where we are now, with Saturn just about to move into Pisces, and by the time some of you are watching this, probably already has. And so what I want to do is I want to take you back to what was happening in my life when Saturn was in Pisces the last time. Now, the last time Saturn was in Pisces was from January of 1994 till around April of 1996. Okay. So during this period of time, I was working. I was working really, really hard. I had two jobs, and at one period of time, I had three jobs. And it felt very much like I was more or less doing it on the level of feeling responsible, not necessarily for myself, but for other people. You're getting the feeling of the responsibility of Saturn coming into this and the hard work of Saturn coming into this. But at the time, I wasn't enjoying any of the work I was doing. I really wasn't. And it felt like I was doing it because it felt like I was helping people out. You know, it felt like I was rescuing people. And that was a very kind of Saturn thing to do as well. One of the jobs was with somebody very close to me, of course. And I was there to give them a hand. I was there to help them out. And another one was a friend of a friend. And again, they needed somebody. So I stepped in. So you get a feeling of the kind of the self-sacrificial thing that comes in with Pisces as well. So you've got the hard work of Saturn and the self-sacrifice and the overly kind of rescuing attitude of Pisces that was happening in my life at that particular time. Now, I was doing readings at this time. It was very, very early in my reading career. And it was under the banner of learning on the job at this period of time. And I was taking no money for it, even though many people were actually saying, you're getting really good at this, so why aren't you taking money for it, and tried to give me money. But I would say, no, 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 all that kind of stuff. Can you see here we have Saturn, doing the work, and then Pisces, again, in that self-sacrificial, I don't want to take any money kind of way, thinking it was more holy not to take money for something like this. Later on, I got a message from my guides actually telling me that I was blocking the flow. I was blocking the flow of the giving and taking of energy. And so that changed. That changed for me. But is everyone getting the feeling of what was going on with me during that period of time? Now, I'm not saying every single person this would have been happening to in that way, but you can see even the people that I was working for, they were giving me a hand. They were helping me out. They thought that they were kind of extending the Saturn stuff, the Saturn Pisces stuff out to me by rescuing me at the time. feeling I'll give a job to somebody that doesn't have one, that kind of thing. So what I want to say here is that we're talking about the most structured of all the planets. It's a very boundary conscious, very responsibility, accountability conscious planet in a sign that is pretty much the opposite. A sign that has absolutely no boundary whatsoever. A sign that's more sensitive, a sign that's more emotional, a sign that's more connected to all that is. And so when these two planets collided the very first time for me, it was like buckle down, do the hard work, do the hard yards, be responsible, not necessarily for myself, but feeling responsible for other people. And then at the same time, opening myself up so wide that it actually felt like I had no boundaries to actually say, no, I don't want to do that. Or a feeling of if I do, if I do pull back or if I do say no, then it was going to be harsh of me. It was going to be mean of me to do that. I want to say that at that time, I was the only one, I was the only one that was getting the raw end of the stick in this area. Why I'm saying this is because this could actually start happening for a few people now. There might be that Saturn feeling coming into our lives on that level of having to do things in a way where we really, really feel like, Saturn is an achievement oriented planet. Saturn is about mastering something. And so we do put a lot of focus, we put a lot of concentration, we put a lot of effort, we put a lot of application into where Saturn is. So maybe we're going to be putting all that into areas where we have lost, I want to say, grip of who we are and what we want. It might feel like we're in situations that could be quite overwhelming for us at times. It could be a lot of stuff that we're giving out and doing too much of and not getting all that much back. That feeling of losing yourself in work, all those kind of things might come into it. Now, I'm only saying all that as a warning, just to be able to, for you to be able to sit back and have a good look at what you're doing in your life at the moment. Now, many people are talking about Saturn in Pisces. This is where you can crystallize your dreams. This is where you can really pull into form the stuff that you have imagined or the stuff that you have fantasized about. I'm a big, big believer in that, in doing that. I think I actually even mentioned it in one of my past webinars. Um, and it's a great idea to do. Can you see how Saturn in Pisces would love to do that? So, if there is something that you've dreamt about, it is time for you to actually bring it into the land of reality and to possibly do something. It could be something to do with astrology, or it could be something to do creatively or artistically, or just something that has something to do with anything that makes you feel good. Anything that makes you feel good from the inside out. This 2-year period could be a really, really good time to buckle down and put the energy into that. You know how I was saying how I was putting a lot of energy into stuff that I didn't really enjoy doing? I want to say be really, really careful of doing that. Like really careful. Because if you're putting a lot of energy into stuff that you're not enjoying and it's not really feeding you, especially feeding your soul, you're going to feel it. It's going to be a tough time for you. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard work. So make sure, really and truly, make sure that the next couple of years for you, where you're applying yourself, where you're putting your concentration, where you're becoming accountable for yourself is going in the right direction. Now, I want to go even further with this because this is not just about making our dreams come true, which is really nice. It's a really kind of lovely image. This is more on the level of what I would call spiritual responsibility. It truly is. Every single one of us has come down here onto the planet with a mission. And every single one of us knows what it is. I know so many people are going, oh, I don't know what my mission is. I have no idea. And I feel like saying, yes, you do. You do know what it is. But there are a million and one excuses in the way around why you can't locate it or why you can't. You know it. You can feel it. It's right there. It's right there in your heart of hearts. And it will come out. It will come out through meditation and long walks in nature and sitting down by the waterfront. All those beautiful, beautiful, quiet places where you can actually go into reflection, where you can really listen to your inner voice. That's where it is. And so Saturn is trying its best to be able to bring into concrete human form, because that's what Saturn is. Saturn's here on the Earth plane. Saturn is really, really conscious of us being in bodies, in this little casing and having to work in the land of limitation or restriction. Land of limitation and restriction isn't so much about tying ourselves up, which it can do. We can do that very, very easily. It's just with what we've got to play with here on the planet. It's the area, it's the feeling of the earth plane. It's the land of form is where we have to play. Okay. And so we have a spiritual responsibility of sorts to fulfill what we've come here to do. Now, Pisces is that feeling of being able to come into a deeply connected place with ourselves on the level of recognizing ourselves as spiritual beings, as humans, having a spirits having a human experience and not vice versa. And so for us, over the next couple of years, I want to say be very, very, very conscious of your inner voice, your intuition, that part of you that's sensitive to what's going on inside as much as outside. And then be able to, in your own way, put the building blocks around that. Put the building blocks around things that make you feel spiritually alive. Put the building blocks around things that make you feel spiritually in touch or spiritually in tune. That's what it is. If you can actually start to move in directions, and it could be a job, but if it's not a job, it could be something creative, it could be something fun, it could be something where you're charitable, it could be something where you're giving of the heart, it could be something where you're just lighting a certain area of your life up in some kind of way. Anything that makes your soul smile, anything that makes you feel this is what I'm on the planet to do. And it's all about how you feel in the end. People go, I don't know what it is. And it's kind of like, it's how you feel. It's not, it's everyone seems to think it's going to come in a package. If I become a flight attendant, if I become if I work on the ships, on the cruise ships, maybe that will do it. Well, maybe it will, but at the same time, it's not the job. It's how you feel. It's how you feel inside. And so anything that makes you feel good inside, anything that makes as I said, that makes your soul sing, that's it. That's what it is. And if you can put your concentration, if you can put your work, if you can put your application, if you can put that sense of responsibility onto feeling good for the next 2.5 years, I want to actually say that is what Saturn in Pisces will be all about for you.